Welcome to the A.L.L podcast. The Academy of Logic and Light is a peer to peer educational platform that allows students and teachers a safe space to practice spirituality without indoctrination. We recognize sovereignty and recognize the right to choose how you worship, who you worship, or if you do not worship, and that it is a personal experience. Please take the information today that resonates and leave what doesn't.
We have an amazing episode today full of juicy things, but I'm going to go ahead and let Stefanie introduce herself today.
Hey, I'm the new girl, the new girl in town. My name is Stefanie Joseph. I am a Soma intuitive coach. And I'm not going to say too much right now because I think the episode is going to do the introduction in itself. But I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of the A.L.L team and build this beautiful community. Let's just get into the juiciness because I think that's where the magic is going to be in the episode.
Kat, do you want to tell us how you and Stefanie met?
Sure. Yeah. So we have a mutual friend. She kind of put us in contact, I think. So what had actually happened is I had made a video and put it on TikTok. I can't remember if I put it on Instagram too as well, about an experience that my kids had. And she reached out to me and was like, hey, can we get together and chat and meet? Because I had heard about her and she had heard about me from this mutual friend that we had. So we got together and got coffee, and that was kind of our initial meeting, which was great.
About a year and a half ago-ish.
Yeah. Connected on like different things or at different events over the last year and a half. And then more recently, she had asked this mutual friend what we were doing.
Yeah.
And she kind of like was like, oh, or actually you tell this part of the story.
Yeah. I have a mastermind that was like in transition, like over the last year. Like it's a space for like newer early stage entrepreneurs that don't have the finances to invest in these big time coaches, but just need a community space where they actually get their shit done. You know, we're accountable to each other each week. And about a few months ago, it was like, I just got the inspiration that it gets to change and be moved out of my business. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. Like I did it, I followed it because that's how I live my life, like true surrender of like, okay, you want me to do this? I'll do this. And then in that time frame, like it was almost like a day or so later, I had a dream where I saw like just this literally like this college campus. And this isn't the first time I've had this image, but I just saw this dream. Like, it's like almost like now's the time. Like it's time for you to be building this network, connecting these people, getting all this stuff out there. And like, I woke up, there was like gold strands of light. It literally was just a lot of synchronicities of things that I've been experiencing the past couple of years. And in conversation with our mutual friend, I said, I had this dream. I feel like it's time that I do this thing, but I don't want to do it alone. And she's like, yeah, you need to talk to Kat. So instantly reached out to Kat. Kat was free right away. And so then that's what led to the coffee. And like, I remember sitting there and I just told Kat, here was what happened in my dream. Here was the vision I had back in 2015. And she just sat there and just listened. And I just saw like the shaking in the face and just like, okay. Because I knew a little bit about Academy just through conversations and through like Chandel, our mutual friend. Like I just knew very little about it. I peeked at your guys' website and all that stuff. But I was like really in it of like, I don't know, this is what happened. What do you guys have? And what does this look like? So that was leading up into that conversation.
Which was crazy and incredible because the whole time she's telling me this story, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay. And like all the like little pieces are like clicking together. And I'm like, I see what's happening here, you little tricky universe.
Because here's one thing about it that I didn't mention is I was like, no, I don't. Like I've tried this before and I know we'll get into that. Like I've tried building a community space multiple times. They were great experiences, but I was like, you know what, 3 strikes, I'm out of this. Like, thank you, but no, thank you. And I know that there was some resonance with that too. And that like perfect thing, like that, just click. And I'm like, okay, I can't deny even right now, I'm getting full body chills. Like, okay, I'll listen. I'll just hear you out.
Yeah, totally. So, and it worked out so well. And, since you've been working with us, which has only been like a month, really, maybe even 3 weeks or so. And since just before our last community event, I think is when we had that
Like the
meeting.
day before, because they're like, "Oh, you're gonna come to this thing?"
Yeah,
Notice, but here we are.
yeah, and you've already added so much value, and your wealth of knowledge and ability to contribute and your ideas and everything. I'm just always like, holy shit, like in awe about the whole thing and how nicely everything's coming together and how quickly everything's coming together is so inspiring. Like it's so fun to watch it and to be a witness to the birth of this beautiful community is amazing. I'm just so lit up by it right now.
Yeah, it's also just so refreshing too. I'm like, as much as we've like been telling people what it is that we're doing and what we're building here, it's like sometimes just falls on deaf ears. Like people are like, "Oh, that's nice," but like they don't get it. And so like when you kind of like put your like light and love into it, it was just like, oh, all the pieces they just clicked. Like my whole body just got excited. I'm like, oh my God, not only does she get what we're doing, she gets what we're doing and like wants to like work with us. And it was just like refreshing.
Yeah. And that was what was resonant when we met for lunch, where you made that comment. You're like, not everybody gets this. And I'm like, I get it. And it's not for me. Like, that's the really cool thing, because I know Kat in conversation, you around the same time, 2015, 16 is when I started getting the images, and it was more of like a physical space, but I think I needed to see it that way for at that time, for my mind to comprehend, like, okay, here's a healing center. And I also think there was other people in our collective that like healing centers, is coming through. But that was a language that it allowed me to see it. And then from then on, it just continued like over the years. And I was like, okay, I'm going to surrender this thing because it's unorthodox. It's different than what we see in society. I remember telling business coaches about this, and they're like, this is not going to work, Steph. What are you even thinking? Like, just abandon this. Again, full chills. That's my sign. Like, abandon this thing because it's not possible in the constructs that we have of our society. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm kind of almost that innocent of like, don't tell me what not to do. And that was really what was fascinating for me, is I've been attempting to build something like this, and people would like see the vision and they'd be in it, but then they didn't actually see the vision. And so it would like, we'd kind of get this momentum, and then it would kerplunk, and then okay, Spirit, I'm listening, I'm following the directions, and then build something up, and then and like that wind behind the cells would just like, and when you're building a conscious space and you're allowing people to have their own experience, doesn't mean that it's easy. There's a lot of heartache that goes through this, but that was something that was really fascinating to talk to you guys. And like, we kind of literally like saw these parallel paths happening in different, 3 different realms, and in multiple realms, right, of other people that were involved too. But they, like the 3 of us, like just seeing these parallel paths, like we've been building this since 2015, unknowingly that it was going to be the 3 of us sitting on here. And like another piece I geek out about it. I was sitting there, like this was like probably like 6 weeks ago, and I was like, how are companies formed? Like I work with a lot of solo entrepreneurs. We're just in our own little world. And I was like, companies form when 2 or more people say, hey, I have this really cool idea. Hey, me too. Hey, do you want to do this? Hey, here's the things that I bring in, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, that's how companies are formed. And I know it sounds so simple, but at that moment I was like, wait, that is how really these like things are formed. And that is essentially what really happened. And what I loved coming into it is the groundwork had been laid with what you guys have been doing in the past 2 years. And that was such a, like, when I came in, I was like, okay, I felt this foundation, and it just felt like really like solid foundation. And then let's breathe some light into it. Let's like, okay, like a rebirth, because I think our lives have many deaths and rebirths, and this is a rebirth of the Academy and what this gets to be. So any other like thoughts on that?
I had like forgotten big pieces of this puzzle of work that I had been doing before even 2022. We launched it as the Academy. So like really weird. I didn't know anyone in Salt Lake City. I didn't know, there's no reason for me to have moved here. And then when I drove my car over the border, and I didn't even have a jacket, snowshoes, like anything. I didn't know anybody, but within a year we were already doing community circles in my basement apartment. And I was literally started the Facebook group under my business name, and I started just putting free classes, and that time you could have like your courses in there, and I would just sit there data entry all day long, which is kind of what I do now, and get offering whatever free education so people could start like learning about this and pay as much as I did to learn about all my things. So the timing of everything was just so interesting.
It would be interesting to see if like other people around the world or in other states had that same kind of like download around that same time. It's interesting. It would be interesting to go back and see what the astrology was like, what was happening around that time. That it was like, because I know a few other people that had around that same time a similar vision, like something is shifting and we need more community. We need community space that isn't church related or corporate related or like any of those umbrellas with hierarchies. We need a mutual community space to hold like a container for people, because you know a lot of fallout was starting to happen of people starting to kind of wake up and shift their perception on certain things and, you know, start to deconstruct the way that they had been raised and their belief systems and all those types of things. And so, yeah, I tried to do it back then. I was working with a couple of people. We got involved in looking at the Warm Springs building that's on Beck Street in North Salt Lake, which used to be the old Children's Museum. But before that, it was a Bohemian bathhouse in the early 1900s. Beautiful building. The city has really done a great job of messing up that property. So there was a lot of red tape and a lot of hoops involved. And that building, unfortunately, has been severely neglected for such a long time, even though it's on the historic registry. That fiscally, it was just such a huge undertaking to try to renovate and repair that building. But we were interested in that building specifically because there is, or used to be, a natural warm springs that runs into that building. And we all know how healing water can be. And so we wanted to kind of use that space. And also that because it sits on a natural warm springs, it historically was a sacred site for the indigenous tribes of Salt Lake before the Mormon pioneers came into the valley. And we wanted to partner with those tribes to rehabilitate that space for them and, you know, give that back to that community that it was taken away from, and have kind of like a partnership where we could have classes and people could learn about the history of the indigenous tribes that are in the valley and, you know, did well until they didn't. But it was such a huge undertaking that it just kind of fell apart. And so we were looking at other spaces for a while, and then it just was exhaustive. Like it just felt like every step was a battle. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to step away. It's still in my pocket. I still love the vision, but it shouldn't be this hard. Like if it's meant to happen, it shouldn't be this hard. Obviously, there's always work involved in putting together a project like this, but you see progress with that work, and that work still lights you up. Once it doesn't, and it's just a constant battle, for me, that's a sign of like something's not in alignment right now. So I got to take a pause, you know? And so that happened. And then when I moved from Bountiful to where I live now, in 2019, I had a conversation with a friend of mine about this kind of same thing. I can't even remember how it came up, but I was talking about the Warm Springs Project, and she had mentioned that she also had this vision of putting together like a community center or something, but more centered around young people, where like teenagers and kids, like a summer camp style, where kids could go and learn about nature and gardening and astrology and get their human design done at a young age, so that they would have those tools really early, instead of having to be conditioned and then you reach a point where you're deconditioning like we all did. Just have that as a lifelong tool, and how amazing and how much potential would come behind all of that. And we started to put together classes and things like that. And then something shifted in that project. And it just kind of we couldn't quite get it there. And so after that, I was like, I think this is a pipe dream. I don't know what's happening, but clearly this is not what I think it is, or like I'm misleading myself, or I'm seeing signs that aren't there. Like I got really confused and, kind of bitter, I guess, a little bit about it, because it's one of those things where it's like, what the fuck are you doing up there? Like, sending me all of this information and then a million roadblocks. Like, what is happening? And yeah, so then I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore, and just totally shifted my energy into my private practice and all that. And they were like, one more time.
Back in. Suck back in.
Yeah. So then I saw, and it was so funny because I fought so much against TikTok. I was like, this is the stupidest thing. I will never get this, whatever. But I have this deal with my kids where they are not allowed social media unless I have it, because then I can like check their account, and also I have to have their passwords and stuff, but I can see what they're posting in real time. And so they just kept begging and begging and begging. And at that time, they were only allowed to have 3 like social media apps. And so I was like, okay, well, if you guys want to delete one of your other apps, then you can get TikTok. So then I got TikTok, and then I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun and neat. And like, it's cute to watch these little videos of these people and stuff. And it was like, I think I got TikTok in like 2021. So it was still like a lot of like COVID or post-COVID stuff of like people making like dance videos, or like kind of like the lighthearted stuff that was happening during that time to like bring people joy, which I was like, oh, okay, I actually appreciate this. And then I started to figure out that there's like an algorithm to it. And the more that you search content and look at content, then it feeds it to you. And so obviously I started searching out like woo-woo things, astrology and witchy things. And then there was Julie on a TikTok video that popped up talking about this project and the community. And I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. So I reached out to her and I was like, so just an FYI, I've tried to do this before. So if you ever want to get together and chat about my experience and a little bit of background about the hurdles that I went through while trying to build this community space, I'm, happy to meet with you. And she was like, yes, please. And then 2 years later.
So you even were responding saying, let me help you ease your burdens of this, but I'm not going to do this.
Exactly. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm just delivering the message here.
Yeah. Well, and like what's fascinating for me, and a piece that I didn't realize, 2019, I started launching kid classes, which is super fascinating. I was already doing a women's circle, and then my kids were coming to the age where I'm like, I want them to be a part of this type of stuff too. And so I was doing a kid class, and then COVID hit. I did one kid class, and then COVID happened. But Julie's doing this video. I was building an online community in 2022. We actually launched it 2021. After another one, like literally dismantled in front of my eyes. Like it was one of these, like we're doing this collaboration, everything is going good. And then like things happened. I was in like, guess what guys, like in this high vibe, space. And then I was seen as being pushy and whatnot. And like, I now know that it was like spirits, like you aren't going to walk away from this thing. So we're just going to blow it up. So then you're kind of forced to, And another thing was coming in its place, and it was happening. But my 22 year ended up not being anything that I could have ever planned for. And that's when I lost my job in May. My sister went into the hospital in her coma at the end of June. And here's Julia putting this message out into the world. I'm not on TikTok at the time. I was maybe like dabbling, but a little bit. Never saw it, obviously, because I'm down in California supporting my sister and transitioning out of this world. And what's interesting to me about that connection is I've said this many times, I wasn't here. I even just got, I wasn't here physically on that earth during those 5 weeks. It was a very intentional time for me to be there to support her and I wasn't here on earth. Like there was a lot of times, like I had to ground myself so much because of where I was, or I didn't want to ground myself because it literally was a magical, heartbreaking time. But I was sitting there when I saw the date of when you made that TikTok, and I was like, I was already like in the the etherical realm, like already up there, thinking that like here I am doing this, in like a community space that was actually in like going. And it was pretty quickly after that space started sizzling out as well. And part of it was my capacity. After processing that my sister ultimately died 5 weeks later, and I was still like holding up the space and my role in that space, but I didn't feel like there was the other support and the people that were a part of it. And it naturally kind of just shifted. Like it was not, there wasn't hard feelings. It just was like, this isn't working anymore. We were like coming up on a big bill for the place that we were networking, using it. And it's like, do we want to invest another, not big bill, but a couple $100 into this thing? And then both of us were like, no. And so then that sizzled away, but I only connected with you guys this year. But to see that connection of that time of here's like, Julie, like you said, I'm delivering this message. I'm delivering this like call. Who's picking up on it? And I was like, me, but not for another 2 years. Just hold on. Just hold on. You guys do some things with it. Because I didn't have the capacity in 2023 to be able to do something like this. I had to really retreat and process my grief and go through just, some other things that were happening that year as well. So it's, it brings up this idea of, that time is this illusion, right? Future Steph knew, but it's like, okay, just hold on. You guys do some things with it, right? There was other people involved, do some things, grow, do these things until it's time. And even driving to the lunch, I was like, my whole body was like clenching. So I'm really big into somatic. So if my body's like telling me, whoa, I'm going to ask her. And I was like, oh, this is not the right thing. Like, that's what my mind was saying. Like, oh, you're feeling the constriction. And I like was driving on I-15. And I was like, what is this? And it's like, are you ready to expand? Like, it's like that constriction, right? That right before that birth. And I was like, fuck me. I guess so. I guess so. And then just meeting with you guys, like, I just felt like, because my body knew, and I've been able to trace it back of areas where I didn't listen to my body, especially in this type of environment and building this community space, because it takes your individual work. I have to be doing my work on an individual level to be contributing to something like this. And there was many times where I was denying my body's responses to some things that weren't right, or like at one time hired a coach and it's like, oh no, because I'm really big on like everybody it's inclusive, men, women, children, like this has to be inclusive for all of us to grow. And my last community shifted from all inclusive, everybody can be welcome, to only women only. And I knew at the time that just didn't feel right, but okay, I'll do what's right for the space, and denied my voice. But when I sat down at the table, like, and it was even a little, like I had my kids there, they were doing, you know, I sat at the table, I just like literally rested. And I was like, all right, what are we here to talk about? And it just felt so natural. And so like, okay, here's what we've been doing. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
here's what I think we could do. And then it just like grew from there, and it's growing from there.
Yeah. Honestly, when you sent your mind map, it was just like, holy shit. Like we have had the exact same or damn near similar vision for the around the right amount of time. So it's just like interesting how everything works, and like relinquishing control was definitely like on my list this year of things to do, which for Capricorn is always a challenge. But yeah, relinquishing control. And then the message I got for Lionsgate was that the grid network was activating, and I was like, all right, so all of these pieces are going to start popping in. And I said, okay, you guys want me to continue the project, you need to start sending in reinforcements because I'm burning out quickly. So
Yeah.
great timing.
Yeah. Because here's the thing for me, and we can go into, you know, like the vision of this space is this isn't mine. This is literally channeled through me. And I know, like I said, when I've talked to business coaches, they're like, what are you doing? No, that doesn't make sense. Who's going to make the money? And I was like, wait, what? That's not even what I'm focusing on. Like, yes, let's all be profitable, because let's shift the scales of this like colonized state that we live in, this colonized country that we live in. And it's just moving through me. And if I can allow it to just, you know, okay, what's next? And something I did want to bring in too, in 2021, I had a moment on Easter Sunday, which is such a fascinating day for me to have this, but just a complete surrender where I'm like, I'm so tired of trying to have control over my life, trying to know exactly what's around the corner. I'm just going to surrender. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, well, what does that mean? I was like, I don't freaking know. I'm just saying it, but let's do it. And so from then on, like every morning I would just say this. It wasn't any special prayer, but just like, okay, you know, let go, let God sometimes. And you know, just that the concept of complete surrender. And that's when like things started dismantling around me, but they were only dismantling for me to, you know, like they weren't in right alignment with this project, with where I was at with it. And, you know, I'm going to continue to be in this space from that place of surrender, that this gets to grow. And this is, you know, for everyone. This is not the Julie Cat Stefanie show, you know, and all of us are like, even we're rebuilding the website and we're like, do we even need to have our faces on there? Like, you know, do we need to do this? And, you know, there's a part of like, I'm stepping into more leadership in my own life where no, I get to take leadership of like me. But it's from that space of, I see the gifts in everybody. I see everybody being a leader in their own right. And, you know, this is a birthright for us to be having this wisdom and these teachings, and it's not accessible. Like, I just spent some time in St. Lucia. My husband's from there and we go down there quite often. But this last trip, I like sat in Mother Earth, like in her greenness, in her aliveness, and just witnessing, you know, the indigenous people and how they live and cultivate the land. Like there's literally like herbs growing out of the side of the mountain. And we don't have that. We have mines growing out of the side of our mountain here, you know? And I just was really in reverence of Mother Earth. And then I spent a lot of time in the ocean and just being there. And I'm like, we get to be better, and people want community. We're desiring it, but that also means we get to show up in community.
And I think that's the hard part, that one of the hard parts that people kind of struggle to grasp with the vision that we have for the Academy, because there is such a conditioned level of like, when you create a company or you create a business, you do it to make money, and not like, there's very, very few people that have the passion or the desire or the energy to build something, put this much time, this much energy, do this much effort, and be like, here you go. It's not for me. Like, it is, I want to be a part of the community, obviously, but I'm not creating it for me. I'm creating it for the planet, to be quite honest, because she needs it. She needs us to connect. We as a collective need it. We need to connect. And through my own personal struggle, I'm like, I don't know how to find people. I don't know how to make friends as an adult. I don't know, because I don't do like the traditional kinds of things or go to the places where people would meet friends. Like the closest place that I'm going to go is a bar. And I don't even really do that anymore. Unless, you know, it's somebody's birthday party or, you know, maybe a couple times a year. So it's sort of like, and also like I want to meet genuine people that I connect with on that soul level. But how do you find that? Where do you go? It's sort of this like innovation project of it hasn't been done, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't or can't be. We used to have horses and not cars. We used to live in caves and now we live in houses. Like this idea that people have, that we tend to have in Western society for sure, well, it's never been done before, so then it can't be done. Nothing's been done before until it is done. So that's ridiculous, first of all. And I think it's similar probably for you two. For me, my relationship with money is, I think, interesting and unique. And a lot of people have a hard time understanding it. My family, for sure, definitely struggles to understand like why I have such a strong skill set and don't do like I could make so much more money if I worked a corporate job and like all of these things. But to me, money is secondary. Money is a byproduct of passion. Money just happens when you, for me anyway, when I'm in alignment and following what I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be putting my energy. And I look at this project in that same way. Obviously, that's not always true. Like there are parts of every job that are a little bit more soul sucking than other parts. That's just the reality of living in the 3D world. So it's not all, you know, bubbles and rainbows and then I'm a millionaire. That's not true. That's not true for anybody. But I try to look at it with the energy of that. It's the byproduct. When you're building, especially a project like this and putting energy and like doing these things in, it will naturally happen. Like I don't really worry about how it's going to get funded or where that money is going to come from. So far in the last 2 years, it's come when we needed it and enough that we needed to make things work. Enough for the website, enough for, you know, the basic bills to get paid. We're getting to a point where we're going to expand, and that's great. And all of those things will fall into place.
I love that you're wearing your Hogwarts shirt, by the way.
My magic. It was intentional because the other shirt I put on, I was like, ew. No, I put one shirt on and it had a big stain like right on the boob. I'm like, okay, that's not going to
Oh,
work. Right? So I put on another one. I was like, no. And then I like was going, I was like, Hogwarts. That's my magic. And there's like a lot of meaning in Harry Potter for me. And my connection, like Jen was a Harry Potter fanatic, and she gifted me. I didn't ever read or listen to the books until after she died. And we're now going on our third round of listening through the books. My daughter and I, every time we get in the car, we just listen. And there's so much death in Harry Potter that I was not aware of. And I had this beautiful realization that Jen knew all these things. Like as she's reading the books, her human self knew, and what a beautiful gift that she gave me and my daughter after her passing. So Jen's a part of this, guys. You're gonna learn about her too through this, because she is just one of those forces that gets to keep working through us here. And you know, to piggyback of what Kat was talking about on, you know, like there's I came from out of religion. I was, you know, Mormon church for 18 years. I left and never went back. But there was a part of me that like knew that I like was just like hungry for a space that I can learn, right? And that I can dabble in things. And there's some things like I dabble in crystals, I dabble in astrology. Those aren't the languages that speak to me, but I geek out when I like hear people talk about it, you know, and learn about it. And that is, you know, the academy is that space that like I see it being that place that you can come in and dabble, and you don't have to invest thousands and thousands of dollars to take an astrology course to then realize actually that's not the thing that lights me up. You know, and you know, it's that space of like one big vision that I have that's just really easy for me to explain what I've seen this community space, which is now the academy space, is it's like this college campus, right? You have this beautiful green space in the middle with a fountain because water is very important, you know, and people just gather. Like some people over here are eating some lunch, somebody's skateboarding over here, or somebody's taking a nap, you know, and here's this green community space that is accessible and free to everyone. And then you have, you know, the College of Education, you have the College of Business. Why couldn't we build a academy, a college of inspiration, of logic and light, right? Like, why can't we build that academy where everybody, like Kat has her magic, if she chooses to, you know, bring something into the space where you can learn from her, and Julie does, and I do, and then like we can do these beautiful collaborations between the campuses. Like you think of, like you go to a college experience and they have, you know, their welcome, you know, back to school. I know that's not what it's called in college, but the back to school event, and everybody's contributing to it. And it's this big party and this big thing. Like, why can't we build that from a space of non-indoctrination where you're not like, you come in and if it doesn't resonate with you, by all means, like walk away from it, right? Like, or get curious about why it's not resonating with you. Like, get curious about why the thing that Stefanie said triggered the shit out of me. Like, I'm going to get curious about that, you know? And like, we're going to have that space where you can get curious. One thing that was really, really cool for me when I stepped into the space is how you have the conflict resolution and the ethics is really, really important for us because we are dealing with Hogwarts magic. Like we are dealing with some magic in here. And those that know Harry Potter, like there's, you know, the Voldemort of the world that's, you know, trying to like take over and like hoard this stuff. And I'm going to be the ruler of all of the magic in the world. And it's like, no, we get to share that. But there is also a time and place to be sharing when inspiration comes through for you. And that's why I love like this ethics side of it that I haven't seen really done somewhere else. And oh, here's another, like when I lost my thought earlier, you know, I think during that time, 15, 16, like I was part of a community and I remember like I was in there going, all these people know what they're talking about. I don't even know what I'm here for. Like, I don't have any gifts. I don't have anything to contribute. And now I'm coming into it and I'm like, okay, we got to need a website. Let's get the website going. We need this. We need this. We need this. Like, there's no doubt in my world, but it's that invitation for you too, where you're like, okay, if you're listening to this and you're like, I see the vision, I see what they're creating here, and I have something that I can offer, and I'm just not quite sure where to put that medicine, that magic, you know, and like that's where this academy can grow. There's a lot of little tiny community, not tiny, some are huge communities that are, you know, growing around, and those are amazing. How do we like bridge the gaps and connect and like feed these things? Because in the end, like for me, freedom and collective liberation is for all of us to come together, not just the privileged, not just the few that have the finances, right? Like we're just got full chills. Like we're that space that all of you get to come in and learn and grow. And also not everything has to turn into a business. Like, thank you, capitalism. Like, oh, I love to basket weave. Okay, let's go make a business around basket weaving. Like, what if I just want to gather around with people and just weave baskets? Like, you know, like why we've just been so conditioned to think that everything has to turn into this. Like, what if you can be in your passion and then, yes, ultimately, maybe you can make some money? Because I have a vision of all of us making money because that is the paradigm we're in. And I don't think it's going to be for long. I think that it ultimately, I mean, in my lifetime or not, I don't know that. But, you know, right now we do have an energy exchange of the dollar, right? We do have that energetic exchange. But what if there is a larger amount of us, those that want to contribute to collective liberation, those that want to contribute to healing, those that want to like be raising the vibrations of this world, by not dismissing the crap that's happening as well. Like, what if more of us had the funds? This world would look very, very differently rather than it has. I was reading somewhere like 748, I feel like this is what the number was. It could have been a little bit off, but billionaires in the United States, 700 billionaires in the United States. And how many people are in our collective? Like, that's just so asinine to me. And so can we start shifting that scale? That's what I see big vision. That's like what I see is possible. That's not happening. And, going back to what Kat was saying, that it hasn't been done. But the light bulb didn't always exist, right? And somebody had an idea and they did it. And here we are, like, almost 10 years later after the initial ideas coming through, that it's getting created. And I just can rest in that because I know it's in divine timing.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like in all of this transition, like I've gone through such just like major shifts in the last like 5 years, like specifically why I was given such a oddly wrapped gift of time to dedicate so much time and effort into the project. I got injured at work and I had 2 surgeries on both of my arms, and just sitting at home building what I can, But people are like asking me like, don't you want children? Don't you want a family? And I was like, I don't think that that's the legacy, how it's going to work for me. How I see a legacy of how the old communities used to do it, that when, as people aged, that the community took care of them and listened to their wise words, and they had something to value, that this was an energy exchange. So what kind of old person do I want to be? Do I want to be someone that's very involved in the community, so that as I'm aging, I'm not irrelevant, right? I'm still part of it, and I plan on being a part of this until my very last breath. It is a legacy that we're planning on doing. But the other part that was very strong for me was that we don't have this competition. Like, we all have similar skills. We all have some specialized skills. But the part was that when we build this academy and this community, it's not that we only have one astrologer or one human design person or whatever. We're all coming in with our strengths and teaching it from our perspectives and our own backgrounds and our own life lessons. And the part in the spiritual community that's so frustrating is, as soon as we all start getting on the same page for like the vision of something big, then ends up being a separation. You'll see it even on TikTok, like witch talks will start going against each other, and we're like, oh, well, you don't do this, and you whatever. It's your own personal journey. What works for you may not work for another, and just respect each other's differences in that way. Because if we keep separating and splitting up like this, we're never going to reach our final goal. Separation is to keep us weaker. Mm-hmm. And those billionaires are all combined by a resource of more greed and more wealth and more power, right? But what they're missing out on is the part that they took from the community of adding us all in as a collective voice. And we are only going to be as strong as our weakest links in society. So if someone's struggling, how do we bring them back up and give them that supporting role so that they can then contribute their big gifts? Because together, this is how we're all going to function forward. And it just like gets me so passionate. I'm like getting emotional thinking about it. But it's so weird to me that every time that I shared this vision, multiple people were like, it's too big. It can't be done. And I'm like, well, fuck you and your small-minded mentalities. like we've had billionaires that were born out of garages. Like, why can't we be born from my basement apartment? Or a vision I drew out when I was like 10 years old, when I knew I was going to build some sort of school. Like I don't know. It's just like strange for me to like understand how this like small, short-sighted like people get to have some sort of a voice that is gonna affect us in any way. The only thing that gives me the only effect that your words give to me is more fuel for my fire to keep building this community. And as long as we've been doing this as this collective for 2.5 years, building this foundation was the most vital thing that we did. Me, Kat, and Megan like sat down and we literally worked out a way that when this expanded, we imagined that it would expand rapidly, that we wouldn't collapse in on itself. We worked really hard for the foundation for these last 2 years. And still not exactly where we would like to be, but I feel like when we actually like step back and look back, we're like, holy shit, we kind of did a lot. We did a lot and we're like ready. So it's like interesting to see now how, I don't feel scared for the growth. I don't feel scared for the vision. Even the idea of having the physical building is coming closer and closer, even though we have no income right now. But it's just like not that far-fetched anymore, you know? These community platforms that are not just built online, but in person too, so that people have a place to eat dinner and learn how to eat healthy and learn how to shop together and learn how to have those difficult conversation of conflict of interest and perspectives. Like, why wouldn't we be able to sit down in a safe space and talk to each other like humans instead of attacking? Like, that's just so patriarchal.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. It's just like so masculine energy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and
rants.
the toxic masculine energy, not even the protective.
Yeah, the safe,
Healthy.
strong.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's space for both in this.
So I think, you know, just Julie, like listening to your passion, and like that was total channeled message. Even all of us just paused and just sat for a minute. That you guys don't get to get that energy when you listen to the recording, but we just all are like, and we're done. But it does lead into like the vision of, you know, that college campus. And when I came and talked with Julie and Kat, and that like this part is super, super important for me, is because of that competition space. I remember, so I'm a Gene Keys guide. I love human design. I love Gene Keys. I use them as a tool in my coaching. But when I went through the guide program, and the Gene Keys community actually modeled community to me in a way that I haven't seen before. Like they're building they have an online community space where they, you know, welcome guides in, and it's not a certification. You go through and you learn about you know, their ethics and what their vision is of the space and how to use it and honor the source, you know, because there's a lot of work that's put into, you know, and creating a business too. But my last session that I had on the guides program, and it's, you know, going at your own pace. Richard Rudd came on. He's the downloader person that created the Gene Keys. He came on and he's like, you know, made this like plea. That's not really the right word I'm thinking of, but just this request. That's what it is. This request of, you know, if you're stepping into this guide program, here's some things that I want you to honor. And it was very, like, I literally felt like I was next to this man, shaking his hand, hugging him, making this commitment to him to say, I'm going to honor the source. And that was really, really important for me. But as I was sitting in that space with him, I was like, okay, well, like, what's next? No, I had a dream. That's what it was. I had a dream, like, afterwards. We were at this, walking down these paths. It was like, you know, in this, you know, city, but it was like kind of desolate city. And I was like, okay, I'm really ready to share this, you know, the Gene Keys. I want to get it out into the world. And I said, and this was back in 2021, just to give you perspective. And I was like, so what's next? And he's like, you just go be you. And I was like, I know, but how do I do this? Like, you have this whole system in place. Like, what? He's like, you share it through your magic. And I was like, oh, I just am, you know, and so he set that groundwork for me of like that. And I've always believed in non-competition. Like, I mean, part of my Gene Keys design is synergy and synarchy, like bringing people together. There's collaboration. So it's always been a part of me. But being able to see that and understanding it of like, wait, if we all just bring our own medicine, you could go through the same guide program and get something completely different from it because of the experiences that you have, the other tools that you have, the, you know, spirit, like literally, like how open are you to receiving insights, right? All of us like couldn't deny that in 2015, 16, this shit was dropping into our laps, right? And, you know, like, so how in tune are you? But like, there's a space for every single one of you that wants to share your medicine, because guess what? Like, there's this huge puzzle, and I've been seeing this image a lot lately. Like, there's this collective puzzle, and collective liberation is really important for me right now. Like, seeing it, and we're just missing these pieces in this puzzle. And the pieces are rough around the edges, right? Sometimes we try and put one in and, oh, it just barely doesn't fit. Okay, but if we move them over here, it fits over here. I'm getting full chills right now. So if you listen to this, you know, like what this vision is. But to come into this space, we're going to have an opportunity where you can do online classes. If you just want to get your content out there, let people go through it. You want to teach some workshops. We're going to have free community events. Right now we have three. We just added one, right? The full moon, the new moon, and a monthly workshop that is bringing other practitioners are sharing their magic. There's already like kind of people lined up ready, that when we get things launched and get things situated, but there's the opportunity that you can, bring your stuff over, your magic. And we can, we have different opportunities or different thoughts on how we can support you in the content side of it and support. If you're new to business and don't even have a clue, like there's going to be opportunities for you to be in that space. And then if there's also a place that you want to contribute to that community grounds, that garden, maybe you do have some extra finances hanging around, like we will take it. I mean, we're going to put that out there too. Like this is that space that if you truly see this vision of investing in community, true community, not this fabricated buildings on every corner space of the community. Like this is like where you get to show up when it feels good to you. Then the doors are open. We're open, and we're going to be building out different segments, and the board, you can be a part of it. Of say you want to support on community events, doing some nonprofit events, different things like that. There's going to be opportunities, and I get geeked out about that because I've worked with the early stage entrepreneurs in the spiritual space, and it is a hard business. You're naked, like you're vulnerable. You're out there, like this isn't, I'm just going to go put up a coffee shop down the street and I can just sell coffee. Like you're selling your soul. Like you're selling, not in a bad way. Like I'm not here, but you're selling, like when Spirit speaks to you, you're like being vulnerable and out there. And I get it. Like Spirit's been speaking through to me in the last 10 months in ways that I'm like, I didn't even know that this stuff was there. This stuff was happening. And there's fear and there's all those things, but you're not alone in that. And, we're going to have like different mentorships. I personally am bringing into the space business mentorship because I want every single one of you that's listening in that has a dream, that has a business, and maybe you're not at the financial space that you want to be, like, we're going to offer that support to help you grow your business. And that's really important to me because I do want to shift the balance of where money is right now. And that's a big pipeline dream. I know that, but I think it's possible. And I know that this is a space that we're going to, yeah, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. I just want to add to that too, that, in the A.L.L community, I think that we've worked really hard to build a foundation that is, it has a lot of honesty in it. We appreciate honesty, even the hard honesty parts, which is why we worked really hard to build that conflict resolution and the ethics policy that we have, because I think we also all have experienced spaces that are like, oh yeah, come join our circle, we're all inclusive, and then you get there and you're like, I feel like I'm at the Mean Girls table, or I feel like I'm completely not welcome, or this is just like not resonating at all. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. It's easy to happen, and I don't think that most people do it intentionally. It's easy when you have a group of people that can connect on such a deep level to kind of band together, especially in those places where they're deconstructing, because they are feeling vulnerable and they are feeling like they have been hurt by people in their past. And so there's that apprehension or fear of letting new people in. And so it kind of becomes this small, tight circle, which there's nothing wrong with having a small, tight circle to keep yourself protected and to bond and grow with those people. But that space is not the space that is welcoming for everybody. And so we try to really have a conscious effort to make sure that our space is genuinely open to everyone. And if you ever come to one of our circles or our online Zoom events for the moons and you don't feel that way, please reach out to one of us and let us know, because we really value that. And we want to make sure that everybody is seen and everybody is heard and everybody is on the same level No one is more important than anybody else. We're all working together to build a community, right? Mm-hmm. So I just want to put that out there so that so that people feel comfortable and welcome. And if you don't, please tell us so that we can dig into some of that conflict resolution and, make sure that that doesn't continue to happen, because it can be really hard when you are looking for that community to come in and then all of a sudden be like, oh, I thought this was it, but it's not. And then it makes you not want to explore other communities or reach out to anybody, because it can be really devastating, especially in those super vulnerable moments, which is where we get a lot of people that join the community are coming out of or are in those vulnerable states of deconstruction, or looking for community, or looking for friendship, or any of those kinds of things that we all go through.
I think that makes a good point we've been talking a lot about community in the last theme of the month. And something I've noticed is, even as much as we offer the community and make it as accessible as possible, what makes it part of the community? When the community starts getting involved and putting in their voice and weaving the webs of your energy in with, that's what makes community. Isn't just our space, it's you joining the space, asking how you can incorporate yourself. Stepping out of your comfort zone and showing up to one of the meetings is a great first step. But after that, actually asking how can you be involved, or making new friends. It's stepping out of your comfort zones. It's been proven, even when you're severely depressed, going and volunteering your time helps you step out of that mindset of selfishness and center and building back into that community. So I see a big conflict of people I just can't find my community. And I'm but also, when's the last time you did something for the community that you would like to grow and nurture, right? So if you see a line of, okay, this feels good, here's a safe-ish container, we're working on it, we're trying to grow, we're trying to learn from each other, but we can't expand and grow if we don't have your energy including it to it. So it is an interesting time. I think we've come out of the COVID stages of being in our own bubbles and a little socially awkward and not really knowing how to interact with people, and in that time going through huge transformative changes spiritually and physically, and you're okay, well, I haven't really shared this new version of myself with anyone before, and now I'm actually sharing multiple parts of myself physically and spiritually, and it goes back to being vulnerable again. But again, we cannot grow unless people are wanting to be a part of this. So this is an invitation, many invitations.
And there's also this reminder, we are human. I feel in spiritual communities, we have that, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I subscribed to that for a long time. And then really after my sister's death, I was wait, there is this human part of us, right, that we can't deny. So we're all learning, we're all growing. And I was actually seeing a post on this. I think that's the one I shared with you. We don't know how to be in community because we have been separated from it for so long, especially in the Western world, the Western white world. We've been separated from community for so long that we don't know how. So we're kind of all these little children, chills, venturing into this space of I want to play on the playground, but I've only been taught how to steal people's candies. I only was taught how to steal people's so we don't know how to literally be in community. So we're learning. And I as we were talking, I'm even seeing a class that's free out there that's how to engage in a community space. Because engaging in community also means that you are engaging in yourself, right? And you're getting curious and learning about what's going on in yourself. Community, there's unity, but it's coming from that space of, you've got to be in there. So we're all little kids figuring this out too. And I love this idea, let's work with the kids, because I know that that's a passion for multiple people in this space of let's help with these kids not get this conditioning, teach them, remind them that they know their innate community. It's been so cool having my children with, my husband. In his culture, community is everything, family is everything. And it is ingrained, like it's in their blood. Like, you know, I had a friend talking, I'm going on a tangent, but it's in their blood. And it's been really fun for me as somebody that after leaving the church, I saw my experience with religion was not a very friendly community environment. And that is part of the reason why I started venturing out in my teens. And so I've been like, my whole 20s, I was on this quest, not really knowing that I was seeking community. I was seeking community in the men that I dated. I was seeking community and, you know, the friendships and in all of that stuff. And it's like, I didn't know how to do it. So there's that reminder too, that we are all human. Anybody that's contributing to the space are human too. And we're learning and growing through it too. And kind of relearning, but you can't deny the inner, like there's so many of us that are just that desire of connection and relating, because it's been taken from us for so many years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that there's a lot of people that have just surrendered to this idea of it's fine to be alone. I'm good on my own. It's exhausting to go out and be into the world. Yes, because of where you're going out in the world. Like true community lifts you up. It's supportive. It's loving. It's fulfilling. You don't go home being like, oh, I'm so I mean, sometimes you can, because sometimes it, you know, energy can be powerful in certain ways. But to me at least, when you find good community, even when that energy kind of drain happens from, you know, like some of the circles that we do can be a little bit more intense than other ones, it's different draining because you have learned something or surrendered something or shifted something. So it's not draining because I'm overwhelmed by people talking at me. I'm overwhelmed because an energy shift happened, or I'm tired because an energy shift happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, unfortunately, there's so many people out there that are like, it's exhausting to go out and be in the world. It's exhausting to go hang out with people. And it's like, and I just feel sad about that, because what I hear is you're not being around the right type of people. You're not being around people that support you and fill you up. And, you know, if you're starting to feel drained being around people, do you feel safe to say, hey, this conversation is really draining me right now. Can we like talk about something else, or can we do something else? If you can't say those things to your circle, maybe it's not the most supportive circle, right? And so I think that shifting that perception of, you know, oh, I'm fine. I don't need friends. I don't need community. I like to be alone. I like to be alone. And not, I mean, I'm sure there are people that like to be alone, but at a fundamental level, we are pack creatures. Humans are meant to live in tribes. And it is heartbreaking that we have, as a collective, become okay with that separation. We have become comfortable in that separation instead of comfort in, you know, having a really hard day. I want to go home and be by myself. Should really be, I'm having a really hard day. I want to find somebody that will hold me, or, you know, whatever that looks like, talk to me about it or help me process, or, you know, whatever, instead of trying to do it all on our own and trying to hold everything together by ourselves is what is really exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. I was talking about someone with someone about that, like similarly this week. I was like, I grew up in South America, and when my parents told me at 18 I was going to go live in America, just like was like, oh, it's just such a different mentality of being separated from family and community. You know, it's just such more of a, I mean, Americans are a little more self-involved than I notice other cultures. So it was kind of sad for me, but a learning lesson that we've had with the Academy in the last 2.5 years is we had some circles where we didn't know exactly how to hold all these crazy different energies. And I would go home feeling depleted. And I'm like, I don't know if the community part's just not for me. I'll just do the education part. I'm one of those people that also likes to be alone, but I'm the intro extrovert, you know? But
Me
once
too.
we started learning how to hold a safe container in the actual physical location and how to move energy properly, those circles are no longer draining. So I think that's a testament of the responsibility that comes with holding these circles that we do. And also leads into the next good topic of how do you know you're an empath? And if your energy is super drained, you might have heard that the word empath was something that was a negative thing, but actually it's really empowering if you know how to absorb and release and transmute energy. It's actually a superpower, much like anybody who's neurodivergent. All of these things can be seen as negative things, but they're actually used as positive. They're tools that we can use to be better, right? So why wouldn't we make a school teaching us how to channel those powers ethically, in a do no harm mentality without controlling them, which I find in a lot of other environments that are helping nurturing your skills. Sometimes they do it in a controlling manner. This is you finding your power through ethics and what works for you. So it's a choose your own adventure, right? But we are all armed with at least the same ethics conversations. And I do want to speak briefly or not to this, that in the last 2.5 years, the conversation of ethics has come up constantly. It comes up in every single one of our meetings. And what does that mean to us individually as practitioners? And what does that look like moving forward? When we say the word all, does that mean all practitioners, or does that mean all students? And for me, it means all students. That the practitioners that come in and teach would at least be vetted in the ethics part of the conversation, that we're all on the same page of that. But that ethics doesn't stop with that conversation, that it continues to grow, that each week we can add in new circumstances, as things are black and white, things are gray. And we need to have that evolving conversation of what does ethics look like for this situation versus this situation. So yeah, that's also part of a community thing that we would like to nurture more through this community. I'm trying to think of like what the right word is for that specifically.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that in. And I think that that's going to be an ongoing conversation. And I love, like, nothing's black and white, it's gray. So when we can accept that and build around that, then it leaves opportunity for growth, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes the community beautiful, is that it is an ongoing conversation. It is something that's ever expanding, ever growing. But it shouldn't ever be stagnant. It was like one of those first things when I was like going through the process of like separating religion from my own personal beliefs too. But even like coming and moving to America, and I'm like, okay, so this woman got abused by her husband, and her children were abused, but then she murdered him, but then she has to go to jail. Like these are the sorts of things to me that like don't. I understand you did commit a murder, sure, that's black and white, but the part is she didn't have a choice, or these complicated conversations of right and wrong, and like just a strange concept for me, really.
Yeah.
But the same with religion. Is it black and white? Not really.
Nope. It's ever growing and ever evolving, all like as we all are ever evolving. This conversation, like I'm glad to officially be out and just be a part of the team, a part of the space. I look forward to, you all getting to know me a little bit more. For those that have been in the community space for 2 years, energetically, I've been right alongside with you, and that's why this is so cool. And yeah, I'm super excited, and I'm excited of what's happening in the movement in just the 4 short weeks that we've been talking. It's insane to me. Time is such an illusion.
Like a while since we talked about what it is that the community was building like all together. So I think this is good too, is like we're coming into that we're going to be celebrating our 2nd birthday. And that is an invitation for anyone in Salt Lake City. We're going to be going back to Gracie's. We had like our first little together in person, and just having a good time, doing some fundraisers, because the more money we have, the more we can be part of this community and keep growing. We've been blood, sweat, and tears, and all the money out of our pockets, and small fundraisers here and there. So now it's like going into these next steps, which is exciting. And yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to talk a little bit about, at least when I came into this, I definitely knew that I did not want to be a teacher, but that changed with time. want to put it out there for the fact that if you are somebody that has a lot of information and just like knows things and is studying things, is doing any sort of energy healing, and you don't feel good enough or organized enough or eloquent enough, that this is a great place for you to start cultivating your magic, so that you can share your gifts. Some of our stuff is raw. It's very authentic. We've got people literally yelling at their kids in the backgrounds, breastfeeding, like animals flying in front of screens. Like, this is authentic. It's raw. It's not like huge production, but I think that's what makes it so beautiful, is women doing women things while we're helping other people, you know? And that's not just inclusive of women as of where we're at right now. So if you don't feel good enough or whatever, this is a good spot to maybe experimenting that you are more than you thought that you were. And that's all.
I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful invitation, Anne.
Yeah. And we're more than happy to help you, anybody, put those pieces together. If you have all of this information and you don't know how to put it together to present it to other people, we can help you with that on any level, wherever you're at. We've worked really hard to have some steps put together on how to help facilitate those types of things for people, that all the way from, I know this really cool thing, I don't know what to do with it, to, oh, I have all these modules set up and I've already taught 12 workshops. Anywhere on that spectrum and beyond.
Yeah.
So don't feel like,
I think that's
well, I've never taught, so I can't be a teacher. Yes, you can.
Yeah. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I was learning astrology the week of that. I would just be writing out my notes for the class I just learned to teach it then that Tuesday morning, all going through one of the darkest depressions of my life and going live in like a bathrobe. So it's a very authentic. If you ever want to look at like a journey of a depression, watch all of our astrology videos in a row.
Real
it
and
wasn't
authentic.
pretty. But also, like, why wouldn't you want to come build your new business with a group that has the ethics, the platform, the foundation, that we're not going to be stealing your material to make money off ourselves. We're empowering you to grow your business so that you can be as profitable as possible, while we're all bringing our platforms together in a non-compete mode. Like, why wouldn't we do that? It just is crazy to me. You literally are getting a built-in like following, and then you're bringing in your people, and we're all crossing this over. It's beautiful. It's the mycelium.
Yeah,